You are listening to the Pencil and Paper Podcast Network.
You're listening to the Horror Ramblings Podcast, the show about all things horror. We hope you enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the Horror Ramblings Podcast, the show about, well, you guys guessed it already, all things horror. I don't know how many times I have to say that, but I will keep saying it until you guys get it down. That's what the show is about. Now, I have to tell y'all, Steven's not with me today. He has had a pretty busy weekend. He actually just said farewell to a podcast that he has been working on for several years, and I mean over 5 years if I remember correctly. His podcast called the Super Mega Crash Bros Turbo Podcast, which is an amazing show. It is about gaming, so anything that you guys could think of gaming related, whether it's news, opinion pieces, even some just interesting little tidbits. Steven did that for a really long time. They decided to take a hiatus, I guess you could say. I know that they are thinking about bringing the show back in some capacity, but they're not sure. But yeah, he's got some stuff going on, and you know, it's something pretty emotional. I would say when you've put that much time and energy into something and you're telling it goodbye. But enough with the sad stuff. Obviously, I can't do this show by myself. I'm not that cool, so I had to bring somebody on who's like 100 times cooler than I am, probably more. A really good friend of mine, guy I've known forever, who, let's just say at this point, he's family. The guy's my brother from another mother. He is my main man, my buddy Chad. How you doing, Chad?
I'm doing good. How you doing, buddy?
Hanging in there, man. Best we can do, right? I mean,
no.
It's nuts.
I feel it.
Family's good? Everything's good on your end?
Oh, yeah. Just working and paying bills. You know how it
way
goes.
Life is. It'd be nice if this podcast just took off, you know? I know...
right.
I know you've been wanting to do the stand-up stuff. I know you're talking about getting back into that. And
yep, I'm actually getting ready to start that here in a few weeks.
That'll be awesome. You'll have to let me know.
I'll be out in Dayton for a few weeks doing that.
You'll have to let me know when and where in Dayton, because I will gladly come and I will be that person that heckles you so that you can heckle me back, because that would be great.
I would love it.
Now, I know we kind of talked before the show, and I asked you a little bit about horror. I know you like horror movies, and if they're on, you'll watch them. I know you don't like seek them out like I do. I know. Yeah, you know, there's not a lot of people that seek them out as much as as I do sometimes. I know when I asked you like what movie you would feel kind of comfortable talking about, you kind of talked about Jason.
Yes,
which is,
I am a big Jason fan.
Yeah, which is something that we've talked about on the show multiple times, and something that I know you and Steven would have in common. He's a huge Friday the 13th fan.
Well, I love Jason because he's like me. We're big, bulky, all power, baby.
Yeah,
all power.
Yeah. I would give that. I'd give you that all day, I think. I'm more of the Freddy, you're more of the Jason. Somehow we get along though. It works.
Right.
Now
you gotta have the speed with the straight.
Well, you know. Now I know you have. I know you talked about some horror video games that maybe you'd like to bring up. I kind of figured we would just do a really random show this time around and just talk about some really random stuff. But let me do this. I'll start out with this one, because this is an easy question, I think. When it comes to horror and that whole genre, I know, like I said, you do watch it. I think you enjoy it. I know you've enjoyed it when we've talked about it and everything. What is it that you like about that genre? What do you like about the horror genre?
It's gotta have a jump scare. If it don't have a jump scare for me, I just don't get into it.
That's fair.
You gotta make me jump, man. That's what I'm there for.
Now, do you like movies that have a decent amount of gore to them? I mean, Friday the 13th does have its gore to it.
Oh, for sure. Especially like all the new ones that are coming out. You can see like really detailed now.
Yeah. I just watched the new Evil Dead just a few days ago, and
I haven't had a chance to watch that one.
You know,
yet. I watched that Megan the other day.
Yeah.
It was pretty good. I loved it.
Yeah, I've heard mixed things about Megan. Like some people love it, some people hate it. I know there's a uncensored version of it. I guess.
Yep, that's the one. That's the
That's
one
when
I
you watch.
watched.
So a little bit
Yeah.
more of the gore factor, which is always a good thing.
Oh. Yeah, and I already heard rumors they're going to be doing another one, so I'm looking forward to that one too.
Yeah, they're working on the sequel, I guess, right now, if I remember correctly. But it looked
Right. Well, I was watching like things on the background about it, and they're like, the girl was so good at it, it was creeping out the film directors. I was like, that is awesome.
See, I love behind the scenes stuff like that, and it's actually funny. The girl that played Megan in that is going to be at one of the horror movie conventions that we like to go to. So
Oh, really? I haven't been to one of those in years.
yeah, we were gonna set this next one out. We were thinking about it. Robert Englund's gonna be there, I guess, and there's gonna be a lot of people from Nightmare on Elm Street. So I was kind of excited about that. I've met them all, and I would, I always want to meet them more. But it's also one of those things where it's like, do we want to spend the money on a hotel room and everything else, and then
Dude, I will sleep in my car.
Well, it's funny because the lady that plays the kind of heavy set witch in Hocus Pocus,
Yeah.
her name
Yeah,
is I always butcher her last name. It's like Kathy Najimy. She's actually going to be at this convention, and
Oh, really?
it's cool. Like Samantha loves Hocus Pocus. I watched Hocus Pocus as a kid.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I still haven't seen the second one though.
Yeah, we started it and we never finished it, unfortunately. I mean, it's one of those movies, like, you love it or you hate it. We watch it every Halloween and we enjoy it, but a lot of people forget that Kathy Najimy, she actually does Peggy Hill's voice in King of the Hill.
Oh, I never would have guessed that
Yeah,
one.
I always forget that, and so, like, that's another show that I really liked watching when it was on, and so I have more than one reason to see her and, be like, holy crap.
Right.
Yeah, she's going to be there, and I think this is like one of her first conventions of this type. So that should be pretty interesting. I know the last few conventions it's been a little hectic because it's so expensive, and now it's like the only way that you can get to see the people that you really want to see, like the really big names. Don't get me wrong, there's some celebrities from like smaller movies that are there that you want to see, but
Right.
like the real big names, it's like you have to have a double platinum pass to get in to see them. And those platinum.
Oh, see, like it's been so long since I've been there, and it was like when Negan just got big, so I got to see the actor from him. He was pretty cool.
Oh, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, yeah.
Yeah, he was awesome.
I
And then they had Jigsaw out
Yeah.
there, so I got to see him for a hot second.
I have to tell this story real quick. Speaking of conventions, my favorite story, and you called me after it happened, which is hilarious. It was when you were standing in line to meet Kane Hodder. You were back in the line, and
Oh, yes.
and Kane Hodder points you out, and he chokes people when he takes pictures with them.
Yes, he does.
And-
Yes, he does.
I remember you calling.
He does a pretty good grip,
Yeah, he
too,
does.
man. He does a good grip.
I remember you calling me though and be like, "You're not gonna believe what happened, Les." And I'm like, "What happened?" And you're like, "I'm standing in line," and he points at me and he goes, "I want to choke that big motherfucker."
Dude, he did, and it was so great. It was so great. And we're the same height, too. We're both 6'4", pretty big guys. And I was like, do it.
Yeah, he's a badass, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. When you see what he's been through, he's actually got a documentary about himself, and it's called To Hell and Back: The Kane Hodder Story. And when you actually see all the stuff that he went through, like, he almost died. And
Oh, yeah. I seen the book. I just haven't had a chance to
yeah,
read it. But...
he ended up getting burnt really bad during a stunt, and like, he was in the hospital for months without pain medicine or anything. I'm like, if there's ever anybody that you've ever seen in a horror movie or an action movie that you know is a badass in real life, it's Kane Hodder. Like,
Dude, he's bad.
and
Especially, I was excited when they used him in the Jason game for the Friday the 13th game.
for the movement, for the motion cap, yeah.
Yeah, and they said he was so rough with the dummies when they were recording. They couldn't believe like the stuff he was doing.
Well,
to that
and
thing.
even some of the live action stuff where it was other like performers doing motion capture, like trying to get away from him. They
Right.
talked about just how ungodly strong he is, and just he don't play nice with anybody. And I guess he actually has like a I don't know if it's official or not. I'd have to look it up to double check, but apparently he holds a record for killing more people on screen with his bare hands than anybody else. And I believe that.
Oh, I would believe it for sure.
I think it's funny. We were at a convention and Samantha was standing off to the side, and I was looking at something. And I come over, and then we like start walking off, and we look over, and he's got just this wad of cash, just this huge wad of cash, and he's folding it over, and he puts it in his pocket. And Samantha's just like, is he really going to have that much money on him? And I looked at her, and I was like, well, would you try to take it from him? And she's like, good point. Good point.
I mean, I would try, but we're about the same.
Yeah, I mean, you are large and in charge, my friend. Like,
dude, I do not go to the gym for no reason. Trust me.
I get it. I get it. Trust me. You and I going to the gym together is frightening because we're like some weird twisted before and after, like way before.
Yeah, your workouts are like my warm ups.
Yeah,
like.
yeah. I am not a very big person. Let's be real. It's the truth.
But I'm getting you up there. Come on now.
Getting somewhere, better than I was, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, aside from the convention stuff, and speaking of video games, did you get the chance to see the trailer for Five Nights at Freddy's? I know that might not be a game that you've really partaken of, but
I haven't played much of it, but I played all 4 of them. I just didn't make it very far into them.
yeah.
But Tristan, my son, he got pretty far in them. He was obsessed with them for a while.
Yeah, it seems like that was one of those things that like adults thought it was an interesting idea, but the kids just ate it up.
Oh, dude. Especially the bear. The bear is like the biggest character.
Oh,
on there, I
yeah.
guess.
What's his name? Like Freddy Fazbear or something?
Yeah.
Something like that. But I don't know if you got to see the trailer for that, but it actually looks like it's going to be pretty good. Like, it's just a little teaser trailer, but Matthew Lillard's going to be in it, which is cool. I just remember, a lot of people remember him as Stu from Scream or Shaggy from, the Scooby-Doo movies, but I got to admit, he only has like a short little line in the teaser trailer, but man, he's really sinister in it. I think it's going to be something good. But let's get into the meat of what we were going to kind of discuss here. You had mentioned a couple of horror video games, and I wanted to hear your thoughts on some horror video games that you really enjoy and why. Because I have a few that I really enjoyed, and who knows, maybe we'll kind of line up here. And Steven's gonna listen to this episode and be like, "Man, I'm the video game guy. Why did I miss this episode?"
Dude, I am a huge video game guy. Like, it's not horror, but I beat the new Harry Potter game not too long ago. And the storyline itself was not long, but the side quests are ridiculous.
Dude, I'm actually just about there. Like I've played it, and I know there's a lot of like hate, and there's a lot of heat around it, and like
well,
say what you will, say what you will about say what you will about all the stuff like behind the scenes of the game. Like people have beef with J.K. Rowling, and that's fine. People can have their arguments.
That's fine, but I think they need to keep the politics stuff out of that, that's most of the issue.
I know the company kind of backed away from her, and I guess there's a character in the game that's apparently a trans character, and
yeah, the bartender.
Yeah, and that a lot of people are like, oh yeah, they got a jab in on her, and I'm just like, just play the game and see if you like it.
No, she still gets her money.
It's like, but we won't get into the political stuff. I've played it a little bit. I think it's an entertaining game.
It's good.
I'm right like at the end. I have to beat the final like boss in it, but I haven't even done all of the side quests yet. So
the side stuff will hold you. I put like 10 hours into that. Like you can sit there, you can do 2 hours worth and not get anywhere like at all.
Well, I find myself, it's the same thing I do with any game that's open world. I will start doing one thing, and then I'll look over and I'll be like, oh, what's this over here? And I'll go over to somewhere else. And
pretty much.
Next thing I know, I've spent, way too much time. I just started playing the new well, it's not that new, but God of War, the Ragnarok God of War.
I'm so jealous.
Like I have it on.
I've been wanting to play that game.
Well, we got a PS5. We got the bundle with God of War. So
digital or disc? Because I might have to come.
It's
over.
Just digital.
Oh yeah.
But what horror video games are you thinking of? Because I have a few.
You ever heard of a game called Phasmophobia?
I don't think I've heard of that one.
It's like you go in a squad of 4, and you go into a haunted house, and you have to figure out what the ghost is. And when all the doors shut and the lights start flickering, this ghost will chase you. And if he gets you, he kills you. And then it cuts you off of the other players, and they can't talk to you.
Oh.
And they give you like legit stuff to do like legit ghost hunting in the game. It's pretty good.
Is this a game? Is this a game where you can go like you can go back out and like get stuff out of like a truck.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I've seen that game played. I've seen like videos of it being played and everything.
Well, they have two of them, but the one I got, you can get it off Steam for like $14.
Oh, that's not
and
bad.
it's a good game. You can either play it with your VR, or you can just do it on the PC. And they have a lot of good jump scares, and then you have to really pay attention to figure out what kind of ghost is haunting you.
See, I love when games do that. Like jump scares are great, but use them along with something creative. Don't just tell me that I have to run from something and it's going to pop out and scare me or get me.
Right.
Like
Well, the cool thing
give me
is
research
too,
and stuff to do.
Right. Well, the cool thing is too, they lock your mic into it. So if you're talking, or if like say you have like a kid in the background start talking, it'll give away your position. So you have to be like quiet if you're trying to sneak around if the ghost is coming. So when the ghost is coming, you have to be quiet. And if like say like I had it the other day, I was playing and the kid started screaming and the ghost picked up my mic with the kid screaming, so it didn't know where to find me.
Hell.
Yeah.
There's another game that's specifically like that. Like you go into a house and there's a creature following you in the house and it picks up on the noise. So you have to be really quiet when it gets close to you. I cannot think of the name of the game. Here I go Googling.
I don't think I know
We
that
we
one.
do that a lot
I'll look
here.
it up.
We Google on Horror Ramblings a lot.
Why are you going? There's another one. It's called the Mortuary Assistant. That one's pretty good too.
What's that one about?
You work in a morgue and you have to find what body the demon is possessing. And the closer you get to the demon, the more jump scares and more it haunts you as it goes, as you progress.
I think
I'm trying to figure out what this is.
I've seen that game played too, because you're actually like you're getting different bodies out, you're performing things on them, and
Yep. You have 3 bodies to try to figure out which one it's in.
the game I'm thinking of, I believe, is called Stifled.
Stifled? I don't think I've heard that.
Yeah, it's got a interesting. Like people were making fun of the monster, because they were saying it was the Michael Jackson monster. I believe this is the game. Let me look here real quick.
You're Googling on your phone, aren't
I am
you?
Googling on my phone.
That's the best part about having 2 monitors. I don't have to.
Yeah, you show off.
I'm a gamer, bro. I gotta be prepared for everything.
I get it.
Now, you remember like back in high school? You want to know a cool game that like got a lot of jump scares out of me? You remember Fear?
I do remember Fear, but real quick, the game is called Escape the Ayuwoki. And I probably
I've heard of that
I
one.
probably completely butchered that, but yes. But continue what you were saying.
Yeah, my best friend actually played. One of my best friends played that game. You're the first one.
The were you talking about Fear, that old game?
Dude, yes. I would buy all 3 of those games if they were to be master those games in a heartbeat.
That's not the one with the camera. That's the one. It's
No.
got the little girl in it though, right?
Yes. It's supposed to be the birth of the apocalypse.
Yes. I remember seeing a video. A guy was playing that. A guy was playing that game, and he had the lights out, and he was like really hyper focused on it. And
Dude,
he looks over, and his
don't do that game
daughter's
high.
right there, and she scares
Scared
the shit out of him. Oh, what was
Yeah, don't do that game high because it will get you for real.
what was the one game? Fatal Frame. That's the game I'm thinking of.
Fatal Frame? That was a good one.
You remember those? Those are pretty good.
Yes.
Now, I have a couple games that I absolutely really love, and they have some really good jump scares and have some really nice gore, and they actually they remade the, they remastered, I don't want to say remade, they remastered the original one, and I guess they added some stuff to it, and that's Dead Space.
Oh, yes.
Dead Space was...
That's some bloody shit right there.
Yeah, and that's just one of those games where, like, I love when they show the monsters, like, moving, and you don't know if it's just a cutscene where they're going to just go by you, or they're going to attack you. Like, that game was great at doing that.
Oh, for sure. And then, you ever try that game on, like, hardcore?
Can't say that I have.
That they make the monsters, like, impossible to kill. like you're running, or you're gonna run out of ammo trying to stop.
It was like Dark Souls before Dark Souls, basically.
Oh, dude, Dark. Don't even get me started on that game.
I think
That was probably like, I almost broke a TV for that game.
I'm telling you, some of these companies, I think they just make games to piss people off. I think they're just like, let's see how much anger we can get out of people for this game.
Like, let's start a game up that you can't get past a tutorial.
Seriously though, it's like, what the hell?
Like, they'll be entertained for hours.
You know, that's the one thing. Like, I love horror movies, and I love reading about horror and all that. But I have to admit, I have not played as many horror movie related games, or just horror games, I guess I should say, I haven't played as many as I would like to say that I have. You know,
I think
go ahead.
the most I've played was Resident Evil, if I have to say so.
And see, I think Resident Evil is a great game to like start with. Like that game is like the stepping stone game, I think, for a lot of people.
Oh yeah, that's like what we were 90s babies, so we played it when it was just like 2D little boxes, and then like you buy the remastered and they're fucking amazing.
Well, you know, I remember in like the first Resident Evil, you had to, in order to move, you had to use the D-pad, or you could use the analog stick, but you had to use one direction turned your character, and then the next direction was the next direction on the thing was what made them move. So instead of just having it really simple to move and run, you had to do all this shit to move and run from the zombies and everything. And it was just it was just a pain in the ass.
And then if you wanted to shoot, that's a whole another fucking story. As you got to run away from these zombies at the same time, because they made them impossible to kill in the old game.
Yeah, and I don't care what anybody says. I think it's Resident Evil 4 where you're in the village.
Yep.
That's
when you're Leon.
Yeah, that's still hands down probably my favorite Resident Evil video game.
Oh, yeah, that's everybody's favorite. That's
one of the best ones that they ever made. My sister now in that same realm as 90s games, and I wish this game would get a modern day remake and they would just pump a lot of energy into it. There was a game called Parasite Eve, and it was kind of in the same realm of Resident Evil, but stuff in this got like infected with the virus and it mutated like what you would think of the movie The Thing, where it like mutated and it like looked really weird and everything else. Shit got nuts in that game. And if you've never gotten the chance to play it, just look up some old like videos of it, because you'll see the monsters and you'll be like, man, if they would do this with like today's graphics, this shit would be insanely good.
Right. I'm trying to think of that one game that kind of sounds like that, but I can't think of it right now.
There's a ton of them.
It was cool too, but anyways, it was a pretty good game, and I can't remember what it's called. I really can't, because I started thinking of like some animes too that I like to watch that would be like horror based.
Now, see that's something that something we could briefly touch on too. Like I kind of figured you and I would just chit chat about just some random horror stuff, and I honestly don't have a ton of like horror animes that I've watched.
What, you don't know Attack on Titans? Or
I would put that
High School of the Dead.
Now, High School of the Dead I would put more in the horror realm than Attack on Titan. Like Attack on Titan.
I'm just talking about like a lot of blood and
yeah,
gore.
No, I get where you're coming from.
Dude watched his mom get eaten the first episode.
Yeah. I mean that's something right there. You know, and it's almost like do you count Death Note as a horror anime because some of the characters are kind of scary looking, or do you just count that more of like a dark thriller?
It's more of like I think that's more of a dark thriller because you're trying to figure out who he is.
God, I wish I had a Death Note.
I got a few people I could put.
That would be pretty bad for me. Oh, hell.
God.
But yeah, you know, I don't know. There was a game come out a few years ago. It was I know there's like The Evil Within and those games. There's a game I'm trying to think of where it's a bunch of people up in the mountains and like you're in a cabin and there's like a Wendigo or something chasing you. And I cannot think of the name of that game. It's like Dying Light or no, that's not it.
Dying Light's about I'm pretty sure that's about disease.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I have that game.
I'm gonna look it up.
That game has like a lot of parkour in it.
I've heard good things about that game. Until Dawn is the game that I'm thinking of.
Okay.
Now, have you ever played Dead by Daylight?
Yes.
What do you think of that?
I think it's pretty good.
You know,
keeps you entertaining.
I like that game, but at the same time, they have certain characters, like they have Freddy. They have Leatherface right now, but there is a Leatherface video game coming out.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Really?
They have Ghostface.
Oh yeah, they got all that. They just put I know they have
Pinhead, Michael Myers. They've got like a bunch of them.
Yeah, they got the creature on there from damn show that just ended not too long ago.
I'd have to think.
I know who I'm talking about.
My problem with Dead by Daylight, like I said, I like the game as a whole, but
the only thing I don't like about it is like they can stun you too easily.
Yeah, and I also think it gets like really repetitive after a while, and like to me that's annoying. It's like with Friday the 13th. With that game, you had multiple ways that you could escape. You know, you could wait it out and hide from Jason. You know, there were different ways to do things. And this new Texas Chainsaw Massacre video game that's coming out, it looks like it's going to be kind of like that. It's to the point now where I think most of these slashers could have their own video games, and you could give them all different gimmicks and things. I think there'd be characters.
Oh, for sure.
There would be characters that it would be kind of hard with. It's like
Right.
It's like you have to pick and choose what powers they can use, what they can't do, and I think that
Oh, for sure.
that would make it hard. It's like if they did a Hellraiser video game, what all are you going to let the Cenobites do? What abilities are they going to have? Or
give it all to him.
or even like Freddy, they did a Nightmare on Elm Street video game that was just a standalone game. What all powers are you going to give Freddy? Are you going to give him the ability to transform into like everything you can think of?
See, it'd be pretty cool. Like, you ever played like Diablo or anything?
I played a little bit of Diablo, not a lot.
Okay. Well, the way they do like their systems, like you can level up and then you can pick what power you want. So they can do the same thing with that if they would do it.
I could see that.
So you can see what direction you want your own like Freddy to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that working out pretty well, actually.
Yeah.
Now, there was something I was just thinking of. Oh, man. Lost it. It's going to come back to me. There was a game that came out a few years back, and it didn't do well. And I feel like if it would have come out in, like, more modern day,
Yeah.
like, maybe within the last, like, couple years, maybe it would have done better. But I think it's called, like, Prey or something like that. And the whole idea of the game was, it was a multiplayer game. I think it was 4 people played as the hunters, and 1 person played as the monster. And the monster was, like, insanely strong and everything, and the hunters had to work together to take it down. And if you didn't work good as a team, obviously you're going to lose.
Yeah, but usually like when you get your team, they like to watch you die on purpose.
Yeah,
so they can live.
But I mean, it's stuff like that. Like, I think that's a great direction for horror games to kind of go. Like, I love another game that I really loved that come out. Alien Isolation was not a multiplayer game. You were by yourself, stuck on a ship with one of the xenomorphs from the Alien franchise, and you had to survive. You had to try to escape.
Oh, yeah. See, I played that one a long time ago.
Yeah,
like when it first came out.
That game didn't need multiplayer or anything. That game was great on its own.
Right. But I know they did one that was multiplayer, was the Alien versus Predator, where it randomly generated you as a xenomorph, a predator, or a human.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, the human was like the worst
Yeah,
to go.
they did have a campaign mode that was pretty good. Like, I remember playing that, and I played through it. I don't know why, but I've always liked the xenomorphs more than all the others for some reason, just because I think they look
I'm
cool.
going to go Predator, but he's a beast. Well,
and that's the thing. Like, I want a little bit of a challenge. It seemed like with the Predator, you were just taking everything like it was nothing.
That's the beauty of the tank.
So, I went ahead and got on as the xenomorph and was like crawling on the ceiling and everything and sneaking around and taking care of stuff, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah, they're definitely more for your stealth people.
But I think a lot of these games, it's like you need to, if you're going to make a multiplayer, make sure you have a solid multiplayer. Like Evil Dead released its game, which I still haven't gotten the chance to play myself, but I have watched a lot of hours of it being played.
See, the funny thing is, I have it downloaded. I just haven't had a chance to play it yet.
See, and
because I've been playing other games.
And if I remember right, they have a campaign mode and they have multiplayer, and I guess both of those are really solid.
Oh yeah.
Like
from what one of my buddies have told me, it is pretty solid.
Yeah, it's like I know Steven's played it, and I know he really enjoys it, and I know it's like cross-platform, so you can play online with. It doesn't matter what console you have, I guess you can play online with whoever has it.
Yeah,
which is
wonderful. Usually means as long as like you don't get like the dickheads that try to get on the PC and then try to put a bunch of mods in there.
Yeah. Which I mean, chances are you'll run into that no matter where you're at. But
yeah, but usually they put a good system in there where you can like cancel that out, so you can like say like I don't want it to happen.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's just I feel like horror games have to go one of two directions. Like you either have to make sure that you have a decent campaign and make sure that you have a different kind of multiplayer. Make the multiplayer something unique, or do like Alien Isolation did. Don't even worry about multiplayer and just make it a story that's really going to test your player.
Right.
I think that's why Dead Space still holds up really well, because you're alone and
yes,
you're surrounded by these monsters and you have to survive.
Yeah, you have to survive.
I mean,
to the end.
It's just
another good.
Oh, I was just saying. Go ahead.
You reminded me. I forgot they did one we were back in high school when it came out, but when they made the Saw games,
Yeah.
they that was a big puzzle game because it got your brain working. And if you didn't get it right, of course you would die.
Yeah.
So,
And that's the thing, like, horror games are great at pulling you in. Like, don't get me wrong, I get pulled into games a lot of the time. But something about watching a character that you're playing as, like, be in a situation where they're facing some kind of, like, monster or a demon or something, and watching them be terrified or the people around them being terrified, it's a
Yeah.
different kind of involvement. You get sucked in, like, to a whole other degree.
right. I gotta Google it, but there's a game that like you can play like mini game, like you can play games like a card game, and if you get the like play 21,
Mhm.
and if you go over, it'll break your character's finger one by one, and then it kills them on the last one. After you break all 5 fingers, it'll shock them.
Oh, hell.
And it's a pretty good game. I guess they just added Jigsaw in there too, or not Jigsaw, but Ghostface. You can play as that character and watch him get his fingers broken if you get it wrong, or you can play against him. Yeah, is what it is.
I know there's been a few like card game type games that have come out recently, so that doesn't surprise me. See, what they need to do is they need to do more games for VR. I know they have a lot of games already for VR, but come on, a VR horror game, nothing beats that. Like, get into that market more. Give us more VR.
Yeah, I know they did a Resident Evil one. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I saw this clip not too long ago. It was a grandpa playing like a zombie VR game, and he was shooting the zombies, and he ran out of ammo, and he tried to punch one of the zombies, and it actually worked. So they're like coming around him, and he's just punching the shit out of all these fake zombies that are surrounding him. I'm just like, luckily none of his grandkids were in the way while he was punching.
Dude, it's funny when you see that because like you see people punching like TVs and everything, just getting into it. But if you want to hear a funny story, I let Tristan do it when he was, I think that game came out when he was about 7 or 8, and I let him play on it. And so when the zombie came out and tried to eat him, he tried to cover his face, but you can't cover your face because the VR is on your face.
Oh, hell.
I probably gave that kid nightmares playing that game.
Lord.
But he had a good, like, now he's obsessed with it, so I guess it worked out.
Yeah, I think horror is one of those genres, especially for kids. Like, there's a lot of benefits to it for people. I think it helps people cope with, like, real-world problems a little bit better.
Yeah.
And I think every kid has to have some kind of introduction to it, whether that's a movie or maybe, like, a comic or a TV show. And obviously, there's the thing that a lot of people forget about, and that's video games. There's so much horror-related stuff in video games that people don't even really think about. And I know, they've got things like, I know Bub the other day was mentioning, like, Poppy Playtime and Huggy Wuggy and all them from that video game, which is like a survival game.
Yeah, I think Tristan's been watching that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's just one of those games that, I don't know, I see clips of it, and I'm like, it looks like it'd be fun to play, but I think I would get bored with it.
Yeah, it's one of those games that you gotta like. It's either hit or miss.
Yeah, I'm all for the like puzzle stuff and trying to find stuff, but I don't know, just the kid feel behind it. Like Five Nights at Freddy's doesn't so much have the kid feel at one point. It's like I still remember playing like zombie mode on what is the army game I'm thinking of?
Call of Duty.
Thank you.
Yes.
I remember playing zombie mode on that. I remember when I was excited that they did they did like the movie set one, and it was Robert Englund and Michael Rooker, Danny Trejo, and Sarah Michelle Gellar. It was all of them. And
yeah, didn't they have
George Romero was the main baddie in that?
Was he? I thought it was.
No, he
was
he was
the one that used the light for the hammer, right?
Yeah, because that's got one of my favorite like pieces of dialogue in it. It's the cutscene before everything happens. The real zombie is there, and George Romero looks at him and goes, "Get back to makeup. You don't look dead enough," and it attacks him.
Yeah.
I remember the first time that we played that. I got lucky enough to be Robert Englund in it, and obviously I love Robert Englund, and here I am fighting zombies, and he's saying things that are sort of related to Nightmare on Elm Street, as he would, and
right.
George Romero, the zombified version of him is just walking at you, and I'm wondering to myself, I wonder what would happen if I shot him. So I shoot him, not knowing what would happen. And as soon as you shoot that fucker, he starts running at you.
Oh,
And it's like 2 hits and you're dead.
See, that's why that's the only thing that I play a lot of on Call of Duty is zombie mode.
Yeah.
Just because I like to fight until they can.
Well, and you know, that was one thing that really upset me about Red Dead Redemption when they did the sequel game. They didn't do a zombie mode, and that really bugged me.
That was a whole different game, though.
And no, I mean, I get that. I get it was a different game, but you know, a lot of people say that the original Red Dead, when John Marston dies at the end of it, they're saying that the whole reason that the zombie mode happened was because Marston was actually in hell or he was in purgatory. Okay. So they could have done something along the same lines. I think it would have been cool to see a zombie version of the game where you could play as, I can't think of his name and it makes me feel terrible, but play as the main character, because I know at the end of the sequel to Red Dead Redemption you do play as John Marston. I get that, but you could play.
Yeah, because it was a prequel.
Yeah, you know, they could have done a zombie mode and you could have played as the main guy from that. They could have just done it like he woke up and all of a sudden he felt like he didn't feel like he was gonna die or something, and then boom, you have, you know, zombies and everything else. You know, they put weird Easter eggs in those games anyways, and I don't know, I'm one of those people, I love when you're playing like a semi-normal game and you find like really weird Easter eggs. Like there's an Easter egg in that game where you find a robot and the robot's like crying, like it has emotions, and apparently it like killed its master by accident or something.
I think I remember that.
Yeah, you know,
because I know they had that one, and then they had the Yeti in that
yeah,
one too.
and like there's a family of cannibals, and like even when you
oh yes, I seen that. I seen that one.
There's a ghost train in Red Dead Redemption, and in Grand Theft Auto there's a ghost on, like, there's a cliff near the beach in part of the game, and there's a ghost there. You know,
well, I know on the second one they have a couple of those, but they have like there's a house. If you find this house, it'll show aliens.
Yeah, there's a UFO
like
that flies over.
Yep, the UFO. And then they have another one where if you steal this old man's raccoon hat, he'll follow you through the whole game and just start random fights with you until he gets that hat back.
You know, it's stuff like that. Like excuse me, I like when they put horror Easter eggs in normal games. I don't know what it is about that. Like, it would have been cool to be like, there's a vampire too in Red Dead Redemption 2. There's a vampire scene where there's a vampire feeding on someone and you can kill him. Like, why not be out in the middle of the woods and you see some guy transform into a werewolf or something? Like, that would be cool.
Right.
You know, there was a game called like Vampire Bloodlust or something along those lines. It came out like years ago, but you could feed on people in it, or you could feed on like animals and stuff. And if you fed on people, you were more powerful, but you would start to lose your humanity and start to look less and less human. Like, bring games like that back. Bring that kind of stuff back. That stuff is always fun.
If you like that, there's one called I think it's called Vampire Blood. And it's kind of like a Fortnite feel, but you're vampire. And if you feed on humans, that's how you get your boost. Say you find one person, they can give you like weapon boost. So like your ammo does more damage, and if you find another one, it gives you like a health boost, so you have more health. So like it's kind of cool how they did that one.
Sounds interesting.
I'm pretty sure it's called Vampire Blood because me and Tristan played it before, and it has like a Fortnite feel. Don't get me wrong, but it's like a horror vampire kind of deal.
Yeah.
And they have different classes of vampires in there, from like low to big, and they even got like a tanky guy. Of course, I used, but I mean, it was pretty good.
You know what I would like to see? I'd like to see a Chucky game, like a full-fledged Chucky game, or another idea. Toys R Us isn't around anymore, like how it used to be around. Now it's just like there's little pop-up ones at the mall. But imagine playing a game where you're a toy in a toy store and you have to cause accidents to happen to kill people, like a horror game like that. Or you're playing as the person stuck in the toy store with a killer toy, and it's just a huge toy store.
Right.
Like, I think that would be a cool concept.
That was like, I had the idea of kind of like what is it, Toy Story? But instead of going like I forgive you, if they like really turn and like kill the person that like lost them or gave them up or whatever, and just fucking, it's like, oh, I'm not gonna forgive you. It's like, I'm gonna take this in my own hands and just start killing the kid with the family.
See,
when they start getting tired of them.
See, they're doing all these movies now based off of old Disney movies. When Toy Story becomes public domain, watch, they're gonna do a a horror movie version of Toy Story.
Dude, I feel like it would go really good too, because like you had like Woody or whatever, he forgave him because he gave him up to a new kid, and then that kid gave him up because he liked the girl one better. I can't remember her name.
Oh yeah.
But what if you have like a version where he doesn't forgive him and he just kills him? Like he starts killing him and then he goes and finds Andy and fucking kills him. I was like, why'd you give me up? I was like, I've been there for all those years.
It would be kind of funny to see Woody strangle somebody with his pull string. Not gonna lie.
Dude, it would. I mean, it would be pretty fucking cool to watch something like that.
all the other toys hold his mouth open, and Woody puts a small toy in his mouth and goes, "It's a choking hazard, Andy," and they just make him choke to death.
Right. Well, I'm also getting tired of like all these movies that they're just remaking and putting different characters in. I'm like, make something original.
Well, I saw a thing not too long ago. It was a post that said, instead of remaking Hollywood movies that did really well, why not take movies that didn't do so well when they first came out, maybe because they didn't have what they needed to be successful at the time, and breathe new life into them, make them successful.
Thank you.
It's like,
you can also do it like the old horror movies that couldn't make the cut back in the day because it was too graphic. They kind of like, we're not as pussies anymore when it comes to the network. So put those in there and make them as gory as you want.
Yeah. Now, see, I have like a love-hate thing with certain remakes because, perfect example, the original Last House on the Left is really gritty, and for some reason its grittiness works for it. They did do a remake. The remake did have some more gore and everything in it, but it didn't feel as real as the events that took place in the original. Now, obviously, it's not like that for every movie that comes out, and I understand that. But I think there's like a fine line. I think that's something that filmmakers have to stop and look at, because you need your films to look gritty if they're going to be gritty. Right. It's like the Evil Dead remake, the one that just came out. Evil Dead Rise. I really enjoyed it. I did. But there were some parts of it that I felt it didn't have it had the gore and everything. It just didn't have as much grittiness as I would like to have. And I guess by grittiness, I mean the shots looked too clean.
Right.
And I get technology's gotten better and everything. But even the Evil Dead movie that came out in, I want to say,
don't compare it to the old stuff.
Now
it's kind of see it as a whole new thing.
Now, here's the thing. So we have our original Evil Dead run, all the original movies. The remake, Evil Dead Rise, it came out just this year. Let me see if I can find the one Evil Dead remake, because I want to know what year. 2013, they did an Evil Dead remake, just called Evil Dead. Come to find out, It's not exactly a full-fledged remake. It's like another story that was told. Okay. To me, that movie is still one of the best remakes or reimaginings of a horror movie that has ever been done. And it's because it has this grittiness and realism to it that I feel this new one did have a lot of that. It's just there were a few shots where I'm like, you guys are trying to make this look too nice. Like you need to tone it down a little bit.
I want you to make it ugly.
Well, and that's the thing, like a lot of studios think if they take and video games to me are the same way. You can make it look pretty, you can make it look crisp and clean and bright, but I don't want that. I want to have this perfect cross between the nicest graphics you can find and found footage. Like I want to have that in between. Because it almost makes you feel like you're in it. Because when I'm sitting there watching something or I'm playing something and it looks nicer than when I turn and I look in my house and what I'm seeing on the screen looks clearer than what my eyes are seeing the items in my home, like that bothers me a little bit.
I think it's time to clean your house.
You smart ass. You know what I mean.
I know. They're a little too shiny. I get it.
It's like I get we have better cameras and everything, but do I have to have everything like shoved in my face that this is HD, this is as clear as it can be? And even like horror movies from the 80s and even some older video games. Obviously not video games from the 80s, but like video games from when we grew up, or like the 2010s, which is weird to say, but let's just be honest. There's this like there's just this grittiness to it. And even when it's polished and it's cleaned up or they reimagine it, they still,
I think it's just a fuzz you're used to watching.
well, you
in
know,
the old
they
movies. You
still
see a
they
little
still
bit of
keep it
fuzz
in.
there.
It's just like with the remake of Dead Space when they made it look nice, they made it look clean, but
But they kept it dark.
exactly
kept
they
it really
they kept
dark.
stuff dark, and they kept the blood spatter on the walls. They kept the gritty atmosphere. You just felt a sense of dread as you watched it.
Right.
Like that's why Evil Dead Rise, I really enjoyed it. You had that sense of dread and everything, but there were some scenes in it where you wanted the mood to be brought down even more. Like, it's a depressing movie. I want to be depressed the whole time.
But don't spoil it because I still haven't watched it.
Don't worry, I won't spoil it. I will tell you, if you're going to watch it, make sure that the room is dark, because it is a very dark movie.
Oh, always.
So-
Always. That's like this one trailer I just watched of a movie. It's called The Blackening.
Yes, we talked about that earlier.
Yes, The Blackening. And I love how they just put it like in the trailer where it says they all can't die first, because I guess it's a horror movie with all black people in it. And I'm like, yes.
And before anybody gets a burr up their butt about us making a joke about that, Chad is black, just so everybody knows.
Yeah, and if you can't handle that, don't come to my stand-up, because I love black jokes too.
I figured I'd put that out there because I don't want anybody getting upset.
Because everyone's sensitive these days. I get
That's
it.
a whole other political conversation.
Yeah, soft. Everyone's getting soft for no reason.
Now we're about at the hour mark, so I want to ask this question to you because you do game more than I do. I don't game as much as I would like to. As far as like horror video games as a whole, what is something that you would like to see? What's something that if you saw an ad for it tomorrow, them saying this is coming out, you'd be all over it?
If they would make one kind of like the old Saw games where they have to keep me guessing. I love it when they keep me guessing. Like, I figure out what is going on, or I will die if I don't. I love it. Like if I see anything where they're remastering Saw, I'll buy it.
I could see that.
Yeah.
You
Just because I like the puzzle. Like, you gotta let me figure it out on my own.
Yeah. Well, and I like when a game puts it right out there. Like, I hate when you're playing like an action game and you haven't had a puzzle at all, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, you've got like 10 puzzles back to back that you have to figure out.
Dude, if they would actually like make like a scary game, kind of like you ever played Elden Rings?
Yeah.
Yes. If they would make it like that, where I'm like roaming where I need to be, and then somehow I get to like see, and I'm not even supposed to be there yet, and I get fucked up, that'd be great. Oh my God, I was clearly not ready to go in there.
See, I've always liked, I've always played a wide variety of games. One of my guilty pleasure games that I like to play, especially if I have like cheat codes and stuff for it, is The Sims. Like, I like
Sims?
playing The Sims just because I like killing my Sims.
See, I've never played them. I played it one time. I couldn't get into it. That's more of like my wife's thing.
Well, way to compare me to your wife, but whatever.
I'm just
kidding.
I don't like to do. I'm just not a fan of Sims.
No, like I'll take my Sims and I'll build a pool and I'll put walls around the pool so they can't get out, so they'll drown.
Yeah.
And then you've got a wet Sim ghost around your house all the time.
Oh,
Yeah, like-
yeah, I didn't. Just because we got the same name, don't mean I want to play the game.
But no, I always thought it would be cool if they made like a Sims Psycho where you could build a haunted house and you could haunt other Sims.
See, I'm surprised they haven't done that yet, because they've done like everything else.
Yeah,
right
it's crazy. I mean, I know there's a video game out there where you actually design a haunted house and like it's like a city builder game almost, but you design a haunted house and everything. And there's another game coming out. It might be out by now or close to coming out, but there's a game where you play as a vampire, and I'm pretty sure they got their inspiration from Hotel Transylvania. But that's exactly what it is. You play as a vampire. You are fixing up an old castle, and you're using it as a hotel, and you can feed on the guests when they come to the hotel. You can choose what guests to
Okay.
feed on.
I've heard of it, and I'm pretty sure they did say that they did get their inspiration from that movie.
But, I mean, I've seen a trailer for it, and it actually looks like it might be, like, it's just a weird off-the-wall game, but I think it might be fun to play, so...
That's like those games I keep seeing on. I see Tristan watch on YouTube, where other people make these own games with like SpongeBob or a couple other ones where they get addicted to like human meat, and so now you have to like survive your way out of the Krusty Krab.
Yeah, I saw
Or
one
you'll
where
die.
I saw one where you're in Bikini Bottom, but everything's like real quiet and like
Yeah.
you have to
And they're like all zombies.
yeah, you have to escape like certain, not every character, but like certain characters. Like if you go to the Krusty Krab, you have to escape Mr. Krabs, and like there's a scene in it where you go in and SpongeBob's like standing with his back to you. He's like standing in the corner. And
Yeah. Let's see. Then I seen another one with Shrek too, and he goes like full rage mode by the end of it, and you have to like try to outrun it, and it just doesn't work because they put you like in a box, and they're like, "Good luck."
Man, I love games like that too. Like in Fortnite and everything, how the map starts to get smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yes.
Right there. That's a perfect horror video game idea right there.
Actually,
go ahead.
a lot of games are starting to do that now. That's how that one, that one I was telling you about,
Okay.
the Blood Hunt.
See,
Yeah.
I like that idea. Like, to me, that's an interesting idea. You know,
Yeah, and plus it ensures that the map's not going to be like an hour
yeah,
long.
you know, it's like have a couple of characters be the monsters or be whatever the horror related thing is, and quickly, you know, shut that shit down.
Right. Like you got 45 minutes tops, bro. That's all I need.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a big fan of games where you get to play as like an overpowered monster and you have to take down innocent people. I like those games
But
until
you like playing you like playing the Xenomorph. It's cool.
you know. I like
Complete opposite direction.
well, you know, I killed a lot of predators. I did. I snuck up on them.
Uh-huh.
I was good at sneaking
How
up
many
on
times
them.
did you die though.
You know, it kind of mimics me in real life. I'm a little guy. If I have to sneak up on someone to take them down, well, I'm gonna do what I gotta do.
And tell me how that worked when you jump on motherfuckers' backs.
It depends on who I'm jumping on. We all know what happened when I jumped on you. I got thrown across the fucking ground.
And then we became best
Exactly.
friends.
But
It worked out.
oh man. But is there anything else about horror that you would like to say, that you can think of, that you would like to put out there into the universe?
Give me more jump. Get away from it, please. That is the only thing I have.
Keep the horror coming. Keep it good. Well,
Yeah, keep it classic. Quit getting soft about everything.
right. I understand that one. Well, I think we did a pretty decent job here. I'm going to wrap this show up. I know we were kind of all over the place, but hey, video games and some movie talk, nothing wrong with that.
Nothing.
A little bit of rambling on, which is what the show is. It's the Horror Ramblings podcast, everybody. Now, I'm no good at telling the people where to find us. So even though Steven's not on the show tonight, I'm sure he's going to pop on here at some point and tell all you wonderful listeners where you can find us. If Chad has anywhere that he would like people to maybe take a look at him, I'll have him give me that. We can always put that in the show notes if he'd like.
When I start getting my gigs, I'll see you. And you know.
Yeah, I have no problem doing that. But I do appreciate you coming on to the show, Chad.
Oh, anytime.
Always great talking to you. We're going to get you into some more horror movies watching. That way we can talk about some horror movies too. But
I can do.
until next time, everybody out there, all I'm going to say is stay spooky and play some video games or watch some movies, guys. Later.
This has been the Horror Ramblings podcast. Join us next time for even more.
This has been a Pencil and Paper Podcast Network production.